As quickly as you can, snatch the pebbles from my hand. When you take the pebbles from my hand, it will be time for you to leave.
Now stand to greet your sensei, Sweet Tooth Jones.
Right on. That's what I'm saying. Somebody grab you by the shirt, you're like, what up? Show 'em you ain't playing. Karate. Protecting your body. Super bad. A lot of daddy. Step to the left. Step to the right. Like it's all right. Yeah, yeah.
I'd kind of been given a second chance, and I almost started alluding to this earlier, but one mistake I made early in my life was maybe defining myself as a football player only. And that's what I was. So I almost felt a little lost when that part of my life was over with. And I think that's when I left that Gold's Gym out of frustration. Like, who am I now? What do I do now? What defines me now? Well, what defines me is who I am, not what I do.
Right.
Unless what I do is at heart giving to people and helping people grow and giving back. Those things define you. In those ways, what you do, that's more really about, again, who you are on the inside.
Exactly.
And I made the mistake, I think, of defining who I was by what I'd started doing at such a young age, and what was life like without, what would I do in life without that?
That's such a gem, man.
Yeah.
That's a gem, dude.
And I really lost track of, like, the things that my father and my mother had said to me about, you know, like, why my knees really hurt, and the gifts they'd given me within myself. So I knew that I couldn't let jiu-jitsu or fighting define who I was. It could become a way of life, but it would just have to exemplify the things that were inside of me, which I believe now that we're talking, it would just mean you're a martial artist.
Yeah, man.
That's sort of a self-discovery thing.
It is. Yeah.
I just learned something.
What's good, Into the Last Dragon? Your host, RoyRob, is back in the building. Your sensei, your seafood for the day. Hey, check this out. We got a great one coming your way with my partner, my boy, Tracy Taylor. Check him out as he dives into that journey of his. But before we get to moving and shaking and you get into some actual martial arts, we gotta pay them bills. This week's episode is brought to you by St. Charles MMA. You can visit stcharlesmma.com and mention RoyRob and Enter the Last Dragon when you sign up and get a free month of training. Now let's get into some martial arts.
I thought I was the only kid waking up looking at Kung Fu Sundays, like literally black belt theater. Look, I thought I was that only brother out there doing it as a little kid. Come to find out, there were more people just like me out in these streets. And as my world or universe starts to grow, I'm realizing there was a lot more people that's taking off their hat saying, yo, that was me too, bro. You know what I'm saying? Now, with a very awesome individual, a brother of mine who has been in the game for a long time. He knows his thing when it comes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's won many awards. He's been on top of that stage. And when it comes to the Pan Ams, Worlds, all of the above, he is a scholar and a gentleman. He is a trainer, a coach, a mentor to all. Please welcome to Enter the Last Dragon podcast, my brother, my friend, Tracy Taylor. What's up, bruh?
What's going on, Roy? I'm looking behind me for who you're introducing, because then I realized it was me.
Oh, man. Come on, Roy. Yeah, man. You know I got to shout you out, man. You do your thing. You've been holding it down for a minute, man. So Enter the Last Dragon. You fans out there, get ready for a special treat. Let me kind of sit back for a second and let him take the stage so he can kind of tell you his start, his beginning, and his why. It's kind of important for us to really understand each other's whys and maybe learn from those things. So Tracy, man, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Tell me a little bit about you.
Man, I'm an individual trying to learn every day, trying to grow every day, be the best version of myself every day. My mother always told me you're a Fred Taylor son and Onda Taylor son, so you can achieve all and be all. And I always said that the worst thing for everybody is that my mom told me I could be whatever I wanted to be if I worked hard enough. So that was bad for everybody else.
Right.
Because I believed it.
Right.
So, honestly, from there, if I saw something, I just tried to I tried to achieve it, man. I didn't see any reason why this young black kid from Oklahoma couldn't do it. So it was a matter of putting in your time, putting in your work, and whether it be on the business end or whether it been in sports, athletically or philosophically. I thought I could be those things, and I wanted more than anything to surround myself with people who had the same mindset, and that's why me and you go far back.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So how did you get your start? So everyone, you generally has their start, whether it comes to when it comes to martial arts or just the love of some type of sport in general. Where was your start at when it comes to sports or anything? Where was your start?
Let me say this, before we started, you and I were talking about the name of your podcast and where the idea came from, and I wanted to reiterate to you that you weren't the only young black man that grew up loving, kung fu theater on Sundays.
Right,
that's
right.
What it was. I remember being at my grandmother's house in Oklahoma, and we come back from church, and then those
7 Steps of Kung Fu is on.
Horribly great movies that Wu-Tang fell in love with too, and I think
exactly
most of us probably around the same age culturally also fell in love with that. And man, if I could have been a kung fu master, but jiu-jitsu was my first, traditional martial art. But man, every kid wanted to be Neo.
Exactly.
So it was I think a shared love that a whole lot of us had for that. But in between pretending to do, these roundhouse kicks and make the nunchuck noises and speaking off track, making your mouth do one thing, but your word is saying something else that we would pretend to do.
The real kung fu movies.
Right.
Hey, if you are a young fan, let me tell you. So what he's trying to say, there was back in the day video editing, and what would happen was traditional kung fu movies were in their native language, whether it was from China or whatever the case may be, or even a Japanese style movie. They were speaking in their native language, and so there were voiceover editors, and they would go and literally try to match up the words with these individuals' mouths. Oh, it was horrible.
It was sound effects with the punches and kicks.
Hey, but true talk, that stuff made film what it is today. Like that, even those little nuances that people may not know about from kung fu, like kung fu theater on Sundays, that stuff is real. Like it's a for real cult.
It's real.
It's real.
Tell me, is it real, son?
Man, right. So you got kicked off.
That probably, honestly, that probably started along with just the love of football growing up. A young Oklahoma kid watching Oklahoma Sooners and Dallas Cowboys back in the day.
Right.
That's where it all started for me. So I started football probably, at 3 or 4 years old, and wrestling about the same age.
Okay.
So that was my first martial art would be wrestling, and it just, I was track. Man, I ran track all the way through high school and every summer, and the great thing that track did for me, and I was a sprinter, was it just kept me athletic even in the off season.
Right.
I would run so much in the off season. But
Speak to that a little bit, because I think it's important for individuals to really kind of know that they're going to be pressured, whether it's from school, whether it's from their parents, or even just their peers, of doing certain things. I've heard some people do one sport,
specialize, man,
or do multiple sports.
I see merit in specialization, but I hate to see kids or individuals get burned out. It happened to me, and I wasn't specialized.
Okay.
One thing I love about teaching jiu-jitsu is that it's year-round. So I tell parents, we'll be here. So let your kid experience all the other sports. My children are in everything.
That's good.
And I fully support them being in everything. So even if one of my kids has a game on, let's say Monday, because they happen to be JV now, well, Saturday morning's free if you don't have practice, so we're going to train jiu-jitsu.
Right.
We will always be here, and it's what our family does, and it's the way of life. So you have to get it in when you can, and that's okay though for you to venture off. My daughter Mari's a junior in high school, and she's on the drill team.
Mm-hmm.
So and I don't think growing up I knew how hard cheerleaders or the drill team, pom teams, dance teams, how hard they worked. She's year round.
Yeah.
She's year round, and I have so much more respect for that, and I almost feel ignorant not knowing the true athletes that they are. But I sneak her in on a Saturday morning as well if she's got that off. But it's important to try to balance that, give them work-life balance.
I like that because it speaks to one of my legends that is true to heart for my podcast, Bruce Lee. His whole thought process was how Jeet Kune Do wasn't specifically one art. He learned from so many arts that was, whether it was boxing, Hapkido, judo, take what works.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Man, that's so powerful, man. That's so powerful. Like, how many times may you, like, to be honest with you, before I really started training jiu-jitsu, I don't think I had certain core muscles that I would not have been able to tackle, or even no matter how many sit-ups I've been able to do, there's certain muscles that you work.
You just don't engage them the same way.
You don't engage them the same way.
It's a different level of core strength, but it's one thing that once you have it, you will always have it.
That's so true, man. That's so true. Like, I never knew what a hip heist was. I never wrestled. You know what I'm saying?
But in that same breath, having wrestled, like, it's fun to teach a class and know I've got some wrestlers in there, because you can almost cut the conversation in half.
True.
And mention very specific words like a hip heist, and they'll know exactly what to do with their hips. Or I feel like that's the advantage I had coming in a room full of killers.
Right.
At least, and I'd say this not just about myself, but any decent wrestler is going to walk in some regards with like a brown belt and understanding how the human body works.
Yes.
Which cuts your learning time in jiu-jitsu in half if you remove your ego, learn how to let go, be free, and just go for the ride, and even learn how to fight from your back.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. So that was one of the best advice you gave me.
Yeah, train without expectation.
Yeah.
Just fight from your back and let it happen.
Learn how to fight from your back. So here's the nugget for all those individuals who are really thinking about either jumping into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or maybe you've already started. Maybe you're trying to take yourself to the next level. If you can really just wrap your arms around being humble and learning to fight from your back, it really does go a long way as far as advancing. It really helped me out as far as progressing forward and my understanding of how it's more than just being strong. It's not a strength thing. You know what I mean?
Because the way I always looked at it is I spent my whole life as a wrestler trying not to get put on my back. So if I wanted to get up, for instance, go fight or play for my guard, if I wanted to get up, I was going to get up when I started feeling comfortable. It may not have been in the most technical fashion, but I was going to get off my back so I wouldn't get air quote pinned. So that's how I started kind of staying on my back, and that's the mind game I would play with myself, is just go there. When you want to get up, and I would. Subsequently, my sweeps from my back got pretty good, and then I would get more comfortable staying there longer. Then eventually you kind of find a guard that works for you.
True. Everybody doesn't have long legs.
Yes. Thanks, Roy.
Everybody can't just be like, I'm going to go wrap this and hold him, lock him in. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, so I've got to do like lasso or some things like that, or even half guard, because I don't have the legs you have to play that closed guard game and do that all necessarily. So I just figure out another way to do it. But once you will take your beatings and do it from down there, then especially as a wrestler, good luck. Use wrestling reverse, where you're not going to put me down if I don't want to go down.
Right.
And if I do go down, I'm going to get up.
Yeah, that's so true, man. That's so true. So did you, in growing up in Oklahoma, shout out to where were you at in Oklahoma? Where was this at?
Oklahoma City in Shawnee, Oklahoma.
Okay, so cool. So in Oklahoma, what did you experience as far as, like, I'm sure there was always a certain sport that really stood out. I'm thinking football, which you played, right?
Football and wrestling, absolute, were king.
They were king. So, like, and I noticed this even when I talk to individuals, being from St. Louis, Missouri, they would, when I went off to college and I met individuals who may be from Texas or Oklahoma, they would talk about how it was such a difference. I did most of my education in Illinois, but they talked about even how the stadium sizes were so different. Just the amount of money and investment for those sports is just a whole nother ball game.
Sure. My dad recently passed, live in Texas now. So I spent a lot of time even growing up in Texas.
Rest in peace.
Appreciate it.
No problem. And
it's just culturally different. You're bred and expected to be a football player and or to be a wrestler. And I couldn't have imagined being anything else, honestly, in life.
Right.
Boomer Sooner.
Right.
That's for life. Like, even, high school and college were the Chicagoland area. And even there's a difference in levels for wrestling in Illinois versus Missouri.
That's so true. Illinois is a wrestling place, right?
Absolutely.
All day.
So when I moved from Oklahoma to St. Louis, wrestling seemed backwards, and then I ended up moving to the Chicagoland area, and it was a little bit more back in stride with what was normal for me.
Okay.
But even in the time frame that I've moved back here, I've seen Missouri wrestling increase 100-fold. And
wow.
The love and intensity that this state has for wrestling, and the state knows it's behind, but they really take a lot of measures to get to where they should be.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to be a part of the regrowth, of the state of Missouri. I was one of one of the coaches for the Missouri State wrestling team for freestyle and Greco this year.
Wow, that's good. That's amazing.
And it was great to be part of that again and kind of share that with my sons and be part of the club team wrestling. And, so it was good to be on the ground floor of those lot of things. But if there was one sport I always said I wanted my sons to do, I wanted them to wrestle.
Wow.
Or my kids.
Yeah,
so I would be happy if my daughter did it as well, because it teaches you so much about life and sacrifice and work ethic.
Yes, so let's speak to that. That's a nugget. Talk about that sacrifice, that work ethic, that the things that were instilled in you. Was it a certain individual that put that into you?
So for, like Gan Dable said, once you've wrestled, everything in life is easy.
Wow.
And I think that's factual. But, growing up watching my grandparents or watching my father and how hard he worked, and my dad spent 39 years with AT&T, and I never once heard him complain. I don't remember him really taking vacation days that weren't spent with us.
Wow. He never took time off for himself like that?
No. Not that I remember.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't remember. But then I turn around and think, if my kids see me off, they're like, "What are you doing home?" Like, they look at me like, "What are you doing? What's this anomaly?" Like, it's like seeing any of my jiu-jitsu kids, and I'm at the store, and they look at me like,
"Coach,
what are you doing?"
Yeah, right.
I sat outside of the matted room, the jiu-jitsu room, and I was sitting on a chair waiting for class to start, and one of the kids walked past me, and she looked at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm sitting down." She's like, "I've never seen you sit down."
Oh my God, man, that's
I'm like,
crazy.
"You're right, my bad. I levitate. That's what I usually do. So apologies."
Right.
And I'm like, "Guess what, little girl? I don't sleep either."
I don't sleep
I
either.
wait.
So do you think that when it comes to wrestling, if Missouri does decide that they really want to, and you say they're making changes, but and improved changes. So
right. So for instance, like we're lucky at St. Charles MMA where you first started and where we first met. Years ago when you started your journey. We've got Sammy Henson, who's a former Olympian for wrestling and world champion.
We had Alp.
Yeah, Alp Oskovich.
Yes.
Josh
Sampo.
There's
Tyron Woodley. EJ
Brooks.
Yeah, we have these collegiate star athletes. Right. You know what I mean?
It's endless, the number of
Mike Rogers. The list goes on. These wrestlers.
Through our whole entire Vagi family, Julius Anglicus, current UFC contender, winner, LFA champion, belt holder. And I know we're forgetting people. Zach Freeman.
Yeah.
The list of
Elkelberger was he a wrestler too?
Berger was the opposite of wrestling.
Elkelberger. Wasn't his name Elkelberger from?
Jake
UFC. Ellenberger. Sorry, Ellenberger.
Jake and his brother Joe. They were at UNO.
Yeah.
In Nebraska. I mean, we have the number of wrestlers turned jiu-jitsu practitioners and fighters. It was insane, and I think that's in the beginning one reason I kind of gelled so well with the original group of jiu-jitsu guys we had.
True.
Almost to a man, everybody was grimy and maybe had a wrestling background, and even more rare, I think all not just fighters, but fighters that all did jiu-jitsu and wrestling, which was a kind of a crazy combo because you don't really find jiu-jitsu guys that are also high-level wrestlers.
That's rare. It's very rare.
And also fighters, and that was just kind of a unique group. But back to Sammy, we have him in the gym teaching our fighters and holding wrestling classes, and then bringing in youth. And there's a culture shift, not just in our training room, but in the state of Missouri, to take care of its own.
Yeah.
Which is very cool to see and be a part of, and it's even better to see people taking advantage of those programs.
That's good. That's good.
So there's nothing better in life to teach sacrifice than wrestling.
You just sparked something that just really blew my mind. Now I really just think about this, even on a basic level. So during this time period, I could tell you I was around 2000. I want to say 2008 is my really introduction. It's either 7 or 8, 2007 or 8. I'm vague with it now, but
I say 7.
It might have been 7. You know what I mean? And so like 2007, yeah, it was 7. 2007, March of 2007 is when I started, because I got a 2007 shirt for Mundials where everybody was practicing to go to.
When we went to Mundials,
yeah,
the first time they were in the States versus.
Yes.
So those who don't know, the Mundials is Portuguese for championships.
Yeah.
So the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu World Championships were always in Brazil up until 2007.
Yep.
Which they were in Long Beach, California.
That was it. And we did CrossFit training.
Right,
that was
right.
it. We were prepping for that.
Everybody went deep.
We were prepping for that competition. So oh my God. So we might spend a whole hour talking about history lane, right? This is history. So let me kind of give everyone this big idea so that way you can see this picture I'm about to paint. So at the time, there were, imagine it starting in 2007. The popularity of UFC is not there. There was no, we got fights going on all the time on TV. There was even this wave of, it wasn't even once 3 months. It was once every 3 months, because they were even having conversation.
Would alternate.
Yeah, and we couldn't. It was a time period right after that when they were basically like, can we air this on Prime TV? Can this come on Channel 2? And it was a discussion on whether it can come on regular cable.
These
like
barbarians.
It was like, oh my gosh, like this blood on the TV. What's going to happen? So during this time period, it was almost like I felt like it was like unicorn / it didn't exist. But people knew about it, but it wasn't like out there. It was very underground,
right.
And
people looked at us crazy.
It was crazy. It was not real. It was like, so it was almost like you felt so special to even know,
to have a clue what it was, to be on the secret.
On the secret. Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
Right.
I'm sorry, y'all. I got
privy to information that nobody else knew.
That is the way it. Oh my God. And to be honest with you, it already exploded in other areas a lot more than what it did for St. Louis. Yeah. So it was already heavily in East Coast, West Coast. They were really rocking and rolling, and Alliance was probably real big with Jacare and them. And then you got everybody. Yeah. You had really big, you know what I mean?
All the Gracie Humaitai, that was West Coast, and also on the East Coast, Henzo's organization.
Chicago had way more, probably, I would assume.
Yeah, for sure. Chicago, had Carlson Gracie Sr. and Jr., and it just was a little slower to get to St. Louis. But we had it. We had Rodrigo, who came to the States in like 95, 96 from Brazil. His dad had a friend that worked at one of the companies here, so Rodrigo kind of had an in. So it's like where there are no really other Brazilians teaching jiu-jitsu, and they knew somebody, so he came here. And Rodrigo, my master, your first kind of one of your instructors,
yes,
got to start our whole program. He came and started teaching, and he's direct lineage from Rickson Gracie, who is the Michael Jordan of jiu-jitsu.
Exactly.
And Rodrigo taught at the original academy in Brazil, and was even the only kid allowed in Rickson's classes. So he's kind of like the prodigal son.
Right.
Kind of the playground legend that when we would walk in a place, everybody would know who he was, no matter what coast we were on.
Exactly.
Everybody knew Rodrigo. I mean, Ali said, "That's a bad man."
Right.
That's him.
Exactly.
So we're blessed to have that here, and it's just this underground thing that we knew about. People didn't know.
They didn't know. So then I step back, just painting this picture, underground thing that nobody knows about. All of a sudden, there's this explosion. We get UFC things once a month. We start getting more things happening.
Spike.
It's just like
Spike started having the Ultimate Fighter show on
yeah,
TV, and
a lot more things. And now, do you think
with all of that, it's helped it dramatically because now it almost paved a professional way for wrestlers. You know, you know what I'm saying?
Avenue. But with the good comes the bad. You know,
Yeah.
There's a better avenue for wrestlers who maybe competed internationally, and maybe you like. Have you seen the movie Foxcatcher?
No, tell me.
The Dave Schultz movie.
I'm gonna check it out though.
Where Dave Schultz was an Olympic wrestler, and there were no. You've got schools like, let's say, American Top Team who will have dorms for fighters to stay in.
Nice, yeah.
But that, wrestling didn't really kind of have those things or the sponsorships. We didn't have state-sponsored like events for our athletes, like Russia and some of the other European countries.
Yeah.
So the DuPont family, John DuPont, from rich family, had a compound, if you will, where we allowed wrestlers to live and train for the Olympics, and he kind of helped sponsor them. But he was also one of those kind of one-off individuals that wasn't quite right, but you kind of had to deal with some of that stuff in order to train and live and not live below subsistence and poverty level. He ended up kind of going crazy and killing Dave Schultz, who's like an Olympic wrestling treasure for the United States.
Yeah.
But now we have an avenue for those guys who no longer wrestle internationally and something to do with that skill set, because it's like, hey, if you spent as any Olympian your whole life doing that thing, what do you do
after?
Yeah, what do you do afterwards?
Yeah.
Sponsorship money stops coming in, and if you're still fairly young, well, now you have another avenue to make a, dare I say, legitimate living fighting, or at least being a wrestling coach on a staff at not just a university, but in some MMA camp or Jiu Jitsu camp.
Exactly. It's
a good living.
A good living. Like, it's a whole new avenue. I sat down with Charles Johnson. He's over there fighting in Thailand. Yeah. Major. I mean, I sat down on a previous episode with him, and he was telling me how he got a scholarship. He's now over there for a full year. They're paying for him to do what he loves, to fight. Right. And that's major. You know what I mean? That's huge.
At some point in my life, that's all I wanted to do was fight. And, I made the Ultimate Fighter TV show, and it ended up, because of some contract disputes, it didn't come to fruition, but that's all I wanted to do was just fight.
Yeah.
So having the ability to have that lifestyle or have that choice.
That choice,
more
right?
Importantly, to have that choice is huge. And I think it's important for anybody, no matter if it's professionally or even academically, or we're talking about kids playing sports and not just being siloed into one sport, having those options, man. You got to use college for what it is, man. It's an education. It's a business. You're going to make money off your back. A lot of states are ratifying the opportunities for athletes to get paid, but that's a whole mess.
That's a whole animal, man. That's the elephant in the room.
How do you pay them?
Yeah.
What's the worth? Are you a starter? Are you in a bench? Are you second string? You're still an athlete. You're still going to be part of the video game.
Yeah.
Do you pay somebody at a school who's got stadium at the power ranking schools? How do you decide who? You shouldn't even touch that.
Yeah.
But at least you have a choice. But regardless of what you do, use that university who's going to make millions of dollars off of you as an athlete, even if you're not even necessarily the starter, but if you're just the long snapper or you're the right guard and you're not a household name, you're part of that success. Use them for the education.
Use it for the education.
That's all. It's a business.
So in On the Last Dragon, to be honest with you, Tracy pointed out one of the most powerful things, and he just speaking to it right now. I started my podcast for multiple reasons. I felt like growing up, at some point, I felt uncomfortable in my skin to a certain degree because I love martial arts. I love Kung Fu, and I have friends similar to that, but I never had a clue how many individuals who are like me, a brother just growing up in a not necessarily wealthy area that is known to many. Shout out to J-Town Jennings, but it's just not producing a lot of high-income families. It's just one of those areas. It's average education, very kind of middle of the road, middle income to lower income families, who was just, I felt like I was different, traditional.
Here's the thing to think about. What white America would call middle class and what black America would call middle lower class are two different things.
Totally different. That's true.
So what we would consider middle class or lower middle class for African Americans is different. I remember going back and kind of looking at my grandmother's neighborhood and thinking this is just where grandma lived.
And it was normal.
It was normal. Had
Yep.
bars on the window.
Yeah, right.
But I felt safe.
Safe, right?
It's what we had. And we all we got.
Yeah,
You know,
we all we
in
got.
true St. Louis fashion, all
Yeah,
we got.
we all we
But
got.
there's a difference in that. But the commonality is what we're talking about.
Yep.
You were here. I was in Oklahoma. And that's still a common thread that we shared.
We share it.
We share it,
We
know?
share it right now. That's the truth that we're talking about right now. And I think it speaks to what Tracy just said about being an athlete, whether or not they are deciding, or they do, hopefully they decide to pay these individuals. I played collegiate sports just like Tracy did, played football. I hope they get paid in some capacity, whether or not, but use it to get that education so that way you can progress forward.
Because you'll never be the same again.
Right.
My body's not the same. I know your body.
It's not the same. It's broken up, and it's still hard to really just think about what I sacrificed just to, you know what I mean? It's not saying that I didn't make a lot or make a lot of what was given to me from being able to go to college versus my peers who might not have been able to play sports, but I do feel like it is a situation that is not it's at least being talked about. It's still not addressed fully yet. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you this. So I just came back from Jiu Jitsu World Championships mid-August. And while I was down there, I met up with one of my college teammates, and we had dinner, and we laughed, man. We had a great time, and it was amazing to be able to see one of the guys I was closest with, you know, he and I were probably close for 3 years and even closer for 2 years, and like that was my guy.
Yeah.
And then at dinner, in this like laughing, and we just stopped, and he looked at me, and he like it was like a break in time and silence, and he said, "Trace, you think we got that CTE?" And just so you all didn't see Roy just like, whoa, what?
Yeah. So like that's deep.
He hit me like that, and it was almost like the bomb in the room just got dropped, and I was like, yeah,
right. That's deep. Like you,
100%. Yeah, I know.
How many hits?
Dude.
You know what I'm saying? Like how many times has your brain moved and
Right.
possible concussions?
Right, I've got a spinal fusion for it.
Wow.
Which was, pre-Jiu Jitsu and MMA for me. And people are like, well, you were still training? I'm like, yeah, but am I going to stop living?
Right.
But I still played like that. But that came with a cost and a price, and with a concussion, and with, my spine being offset, and titanium plates, and
Wow.
neck, and cadaveric bone in my neck. But I also wouldn't change it or trade it for the world because of the experiences it brought me in life, the opportunity, and one day I might regret it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm without pain, but you don't walk away from that. And people say, "Well, you got an education." Well, yeah, but you sacrificed. You left pieces of your body,
Oh yeah.
places,
Yeah.
moments in time that I'll never remember, that have been forgotten because of what happened in my brain.
Do you think that is the hardest? Is that maybe one of the hardest struggles you had to overcome? Is that one of the hardest obstacles, or is there something else that you can literally say that might be the toughest moment in life, and that you overcame it, that you persevered through?
It prepared me for those tough moments.
Like you said, the surgery you had to get, right?
Yeah. That was one of probably 6 surgeries I've had, or 8 surgeries I've had.
Speak to that. Like you competed on the highest level on the jiu-jitsu side.
Sure.
I remember you in an arm brace on one surgery for your shoulder.
Yeah.
Speak,
Elbows,
yes,
shoulders.
yeah. Speak to it, man. Like, tell my listeners, like, tell me that time when it was just like, just thinking through, that was just like, you felt like you wanted to give up, even if it's not jiu-jitsu, just that moment.
So I'll say this: there was never one surgery where I felt like it was over with and I was done. It was just all probably it was a cost of doing business.
I feel that.
And in my head, it sucked, and I knew I had a lot of work to do. But I don't know that I ever once, even with a spinal fusion, where I couldn't walk, or I felt like a newborn, where you wanted your neck and back supported, and moved around like a baby.
Yeah.
I never felt like it was over. It was just a matter of reloading and just getting my body strong again, and staying mentally strong, and being comfortable in those positions that would, put your body in a position that you'd be weaker or wouldn't feel quite as strong, and figuring it out. But
Do you feel like, I feel like I see UFC fighters struggle with that,
at the later part of their careers,
Sure, yeah.
boxers.
But that's why you had like, I tell you what. So when I discovered Jiu Jitsu, it was right after kind of being done with football, and I was fortunate enough that I had football helped to pay for my master's degree.
Yeah.
I finished grad school in 3 semesters, and I got my master's in sport management, emphasis in sports psychology, because I knew there'd have to be more afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
One thing my dad was very adamant about was ensuring that my knees hurt worse from sitting on the side of the bed doing math with him than they did from football.
Right, no doubt, yeah.
Fred Taylor did not play.
That's smart, man.
Right.
Yeah, I like it. Right.
You cannot play football or wrestle for the rest of your life, and I will not allow you to be a dummy.
That's a nugget, folks. You hear that? Say it again, Tracy. Tell them, like,
be a dummy, especially as a black man in America. You cannot hold yourself. You cannot allow yourself to be a victim to society. So you have to put yourself in a place in society to be an asset.
Right.
You have to be.
Right.
It's rough out there for anybody.
Yeah.
But especially for us. You don't want to be a dumb black athlete, a dumb black jock, a dumb black anything. So we got to rise up above and progress above, because nobody's going to hand us anything.
That's so true.
But we will always give a break to somebody, regardless of color, who's trying to do better for themselves.
Yep.
And
so true.
And when you especially see a young black man trying to do better for himself and rise above, and we spoke to black lower middle class, and what that's like, and when you know the obstacles you have to overcome, that takes even more work. But anybody that's trying to do better for themselves, you're going to help them stand and shine on their own 2 feet.
Yeah.
But those are the things that I knew, that I wanted to do better for. So, when I came to this sport and I kind of knew that football was over with, and I rode past a sign that I literally walked out of a Gold's Gym frustrated. I was lifting weights. I'm like, why am I lifting weights?
Wow.
And what am I lifting for? Because there's always a reason.
Right.
I was in a weight room. I was always get better, get bigger for football. And then I left out of frustration, kind of like, where's my life going? What am I going to do? Still knowing that I had these degrees, but I'm not going to say I wasn't prepared or ready to use them. But there's more to life than just being an athlete or just being a body, but you still have a competitive nature. And what do you do with that?
What do you do with that?
And I think it's okay for people to go find clubs or go find a hobby, whether it's just at the gym playing basketball or going golfing with friends, rugby, soccer, whatever it is you do. You got to find that thing that gives you an outlet and
it gives you your peace.
gives you your peace.
Yeah.
You come home and be there with the family, wife, kids, whatever. You need that outlet. And so does she and the kids. But I walked past or left the Gold's Gym and then saw a sign that said Gracie Submission Fighting, and I was like, whoa, that's that stuff I saw
On
TV that Brazilian skinny dude was doing. And as a wrestler, I was like, yo, he's beating wrestlers and choking them out. I got to know what this guy's doing. It's like some super secret sauce.
Right.
I got to know. I got to be in on the secret. And we kind of referred to it before. I got to know what he's doing, because I can't be a victim to that.
Right.
He's doing this to a wrestler? Like,
Yeah.
you got to teach me this.
So that's how it happened.
That's literally how it happened. And I walked in that gym and I never left. That was day one for me.
Wow.
But I knew that I had to have that other thing, and I could not be an athlete for the rest of my life. So I always kind of reverse engineered what my dad said. And if I took care of business, then I knew it would take care of me, and it would allow me the outlet to do the other things.
That's so true. So I'm a person who I sometimes sacrifice a lot because I think about how important my kids' future is, as well as I think about I want them to have some of the things that I necessarily was not privileged to have. So, but the problem with that, there is a problem. Sometimes you work yourself to death and tomorrow's not promised. You know what I mean? So,
man, I remember you and I were talking before we started recording, and we talked about, you started after I did in the sport, and maybe you saw the way I did things differently than how I saw them, or the things I air quotes accomplished. Than I saw them. To me, none of them were a big deal. I'm not saying they were to you, but I just didn't really think about them. I just was doing them and trying to live.
Right.
But one thing I knew is that growing up, my dad couldn't be at all my sporting events because he was busy doing what you're saying.
Yep.
He was busy providing and making sure we had opportunity. And I was thankful for that, but I also knew that he wasn't at a lot of those things. So I wanted to make sure I kind of did both for my kids.
That's so smart, man.
So if they're in a sport, I'm in a sport with them.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I actually started teaching jiu-jitsu, was because of them. You know, the guy that was in charge of our kids program was just kind of showing them the wrong stuff, and I'm sitting there with the other parents just uncomfortable and probably cursing them.
Like, what is happening?
Like, this is not what you're going to teach my kids.
Right.
I showed up one day with a gi and a belt on, probably a brown belt at the time. I don't even remember. And the parents were like, what are you doing?
Right.
You do this stuff? Because it was at a completely different time, and they didn't even know I trained. And I was like, yep.
Yeah.
And I kicked the dude out. I'm like, that's what's up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's real.
And that began like my kind of coaching career with my kids, and it's since turned into not just jiu-jitsu but wrestling and football. And
that's amazing, man.
yeah, and it's not that I am better than anybody else. Maybe as I feel like I can communicate it better in some ways because I know what it's like to struggle.
Yeah.
I try to be attentive to when people aren't getting something, and just pay attention to each person and the way they communicate, so you know how to communicate with them best, because you communicate with you best.
Exactly.
Think about
Right.
the arguments you have with your wife. Sometimes you're saying the same stuff.
Saying the same things,
But
right?
you just saying it the way that makes most sense to you. And
Right.
Then you look at it and go, I'm only responsible for what I say, not for what you hear.
Exactly.
Which is a whole lot of arguments, but I just try to impress upon them the better way of doing things and breaking down ego, but man, just being part of their dream and their lives and being there for them and having those moments that hopefully one day they'll look back and like, remember that back when Dad was there and we used to train jiu-jitsu together, or he was our football coach or wrestling coach, and
I literally can remember when your son wasn't even past my thigh. Like, he was short little dude, and I mean he's just now he's in high school.
It's a freshman in high school.
Like, it's just
With a mustache.
yes, with a stash. Right. Like, I'm like, who is this little dude? That's what and I remember the conversation when he wasn't even living in the area at the time. I feel like he was
in Mexico with his mom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how long ago I remember all of that.
Yeah.
And so to think now,
Going to private school.
it don't even seem real. So it's like, that would have been, because this would have been 2007, 2008, these conversations would have happened. This was at least, and so just thinking, just wrapping my arms around that, we're in 19. So yeah, that's
He was born 2004.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is wow.
You got to take advantage of the time you have with them and the things because they're watching. And what are they going to remember? They'll remember the hard work, was what I said about my father.
Yeah.
I would be at state tournaments and people would be like, "Hey, where your parents at?" And
Daddy's trying to provide.
I was like, he's trying to provide. And they would be like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "Don't be sorry. I mean, I wish they could be here, but he's doing his thing, so I can be here."
Right.
But I want to have both and have some of the autonomy for my kids that I can be there, and them still not worry about where the money's coming from, but they need to also understand the sacrifice as well that I make to be there, that they have to make, which is where we circle back to thank God they wrestle and they've done jiu-jitsu.
That's so true, man.
All those things.
And thank you for coming on the podcast, man. But I'm gonna thank you in advance, because you what you've done is also one thing as far as accomplishments, but it's also another thing where you can like imprint it into history. So like in the past, we didn't necessarily have all this social media stuff.
No.
We didn't have and this is crazy what I'm about to bring up, but there's another secret hidden thing that used to be called Freaknik. But people can't say or go Google it or go find all the things that happened. It's just thankfully, right? But it was a legendary moment in time that most black individuals around my age group understand of what was going on, whether they attended or not. They knew. I never attended. The last one is when I graduated high school in 1998. But I will tell you this: the history of it is embedded in individuals' minds. And I only say this because right now I say thank you, because right now you're recording these moments, and your son in the future can be like, let me go listen to, my dad's interview was out here. Hey, Pops, you remember you did this interview? And this could be 20 years later down the road. Right. And he can hear it like, oh, my dad is talking about how he wanted to make sure he had time to be with me. Oh, sure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
That's why I'm going to say thank you, man. This is real talk. Sorry about
you're right. You're right. I remember being, I not even grade school, and sitting on my mother's father or my grandfather's lap, and I would say, "Tell me a story about when you were a kid." And it was mostly him as a young man in the Marine Corps, and then joined the Navy after he, was honorably discharged from the Marine Corps, and then he joined the Navy.
Right.
Him doing all these things, and he'd tell me all these stories about living life, and I was just like, I knew then that you had to live. And my mom and I talk about this almost every day, where she's in some kind of pain, and
wow,
where she's asking me how my body is, and she's like, "Well, you gotta take it easy." I'm like, "I gotta live life.
Yeah,
I gotta live life. It doesn't come with a return tag. No matter if I turn this body in good shape, you're not gonna give me credit for it.
Hey, I leased this week. You give me
yeah. So you get it back when you get it back. But I'm trying to live it to its fullest, and in some ways, maybe I'll regret the damage I've done. But whether concussed or not, I may not remember everything I've done.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have a half smile on my face because I knew the secret that we were talking about before. That a lot of people, it's going to be something to be, 78 years old and have, this right ear that doesn't even bend.
It don't bend. It got that cauliflower ear. Hey, let's see. Hey, cauliflower ear, for individuals who do not know, is when their ear is rubbing against some part, whether it's another wrestler or a part of their gi or something, but it's getting rubbed abruptly too much. And the cells or callousing inside of, and literally you're swelling on the ear, and it's fluid is entering that part of your ear.
And they can't see this. It looks normal, right? Look at that, Roy.
It looks normal. But listen, trust me when I say Tracy Taylor, former wrestler, still Jiu Jitsu champion, has ears looks like solid as a rock. Like I look like I can literally throw something at it and it will bounce back as hard as I throw. God, leaving. Oh no, that is intense, bro. Oh my God, that is intense. Hey, when I say like it's hard as it is concrete. God, man, that's crazy.
This ear allows me to go into the business world and allows me to move with people without people knowing. The people that will see it go, oh, respect.
Hey, right.
Right to the mat where I just start grinding it.
Hey, let me tell you. So I'll never forget. I came to Tracy. I'm starting, and Tracy was one of my individual coaches who helped me get going. He like literally was there with me day one. Really helping Mike Rogers out at St. Charles MMA to help grow our school, become the legends that we are today. But with that being said, I say, Tracy, man, something's going on with my ear, man. It's hot. It's burning, and I don't know what to do. And it's swelling. He was like, that's cauliflower ear. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what? And I say, man, I'm putting ice on it. He looked at me, good luck. I was like, man, I gotta go to work, man. I don't want no swole ear. What do you mean? I'm not trying to be a MMA fighter that with the swole ear, man. He's like,
too late. Let me go get the needles.
And he's like, let me show you. If it get too swollen, man, we're going to drain it. I'm like, drain what?
Get the insulin needles.
That's how serious it was, man. So Tracy, do you feel like your stint, your time frame in? So this is 2005 to up to now. Tell me, let's go from even being a champion and what your aspirations are and where you at when it comes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu mentally, as well as where you want to take it in the future.
Man, I knew from probably day one of training, when I left that Gold's Gym, knowing that here comes life number two, and being given a second chance. Because as an athlete, we were lucky that you only have so many times to be in a locker room.
Right.
And so many last day speeches and so many, this is my last game, and so many, you see that over and over with the senior class, and then repeats itself. Which is hard. It's a struggle. So I knew I'd kind of been given a second chance, and I almost started alluding to this earlier, but one mistake I made early in my life was maybe defining myself as a football player only. And that's what I was. So I almost felt a little lost when that part of my life was over with. And I think that's when I left that Gold's Gym out of frustration. Like, who am I now? What do I do now? What defines me now? Well, what defines me is who I am, not what I do.
Right.
Unless what I do is, at heart, giving to people and helping people grow and giving back. Those things define you. in those ways, what you do, that's more really about, again, who you are on the inside.
Exactly.
And I made the mistake, I think, of defining who I was by what I'd started doing at such a young age, and what was life like without, what would I do in life without that?
That's such a gem, man.
Yeah.
That's a gem,
and,
dude.
And I really lost track of like the things that my father and my mother had said to me about, you know, like why my knees really hurt, and the gifts they'd given me within myself. So I knew that I couldn't let jiu-jitsu or fighting define who I was. It could become a way of life, but it would just have to exemplify the things that were inside of me, which I believe now that we're talking, it would just mean you're a martial artist.
Yeah, man.
That's sort of a self-discovery thing.
It is. Yeah.
I just learned something. So I knew from day one I would want to teach jiu-jitsu, have an academy, and kind of do that whole thing, because I knew like it was so close to wrestling and it was something I loved my whole life, and that I would want to have a school and give back and teach. I wasn't sure how that was going to happen, but I knew that that would happen.
And so you've done a lot of that, and you continue to train, you had your own school, you've done all that, and then now, do you think it's another layer on top of what you're going to be giving to your son? Like, cause he is an excellent athlete when on that mat.
Oh, that kid's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, in a lot of ways, like my view of jiu-jitsu is, you can learn it. You can only be as bad as your imagination is. Your imagination will help make you great. If you can conceive it, you can do it, you can be it, you can create it. But I can teach you how to also paint by numbers, but then eventually you'll start creating your own masterpiece as you get comfortable in your own skin.
Right.
But man, sometimes people either have it or they don't.
That's true.
That kid's got it.
That kid's got it, man. He's a talented brother, dude.
Yeah.
Very talented.
Like, I feel like it makes sense to me, and I feel fortunate for that, but I feel like he almost gets it in a different way. So I would like to be able to give all of them something back, not just, again, on the mats, but, maybe a brick and mortar that they can have that, or at least the gift of they do know jiu-jitsu, so they leave for college and they need to make another $50.
Yeah.
Because college, things are lean.
Yeah.
They can go pick up teaching a class.
Yeah, self-defense class. And
make $50 off a private or off, just picking up a class, whatever instructor.
Just that mindset, man. It's just deep. It's just so powerful, man. I'm super excited, too, because now, even to this day, I see some of the things that are available in the teaching and being able to spread that information. I see you doing so much more. Even like you teach now, I see you even getting it further out in the future. I feel like some good things are coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, you and I talked a little bit about, my starting a YouTube channel and doing techniques.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, I've talked to my kids over the last several years. I wanted them to start a channel, because I used to always hashtag them as those St. Louis kids. Yeah. And it would be a lot of pictures of them sleeping on the way to practice, and people thought it was after practice because I would work them so hard. No, them little fools are on the way to practice. Right.
right.
So whenever they would do something, I would hashtag them those St. Louis kids, and I wanted to start a YouTube channel, those St. Louis kids, and just have them teaching like a technique a week or something like that they could monetize, and then one day, save the money for, and it'd be money for college, and we'll still work on that.
I see that, man.
And
I see
they're
it.
at the point now where they're a little bit more mature. They can wrap their minds around doing that, because they see more than probably any of us. And you've got a podcast.
Yeah,
what
man.
Social media can do for you, good and bad. So I'd also love them to be part of what I'm going to start when I do one for myself, and then them take it over one day. Or at least, because kids are just more savvy as things change.
Yep.
Be like, hey, Poppy, this is where we're at, but now this is where we need to go and change it in this direction.
I see it.
Be on top of that.
I see it, man. Like I feel like we coming up during that time frame. I remember seeing my mom lugging around this huge VHS camera, but before the VHSs, they had another camera that she used to record all these old school videos, and it would be of them going to a concert or just family household movies. And I tell you to say all that because I've seen all these transitions. I came in a time where technology was on an immense expansion, and people may not understand when I say that, but we came from digital all the way to analog to digital, all the way to like another, like Blu-ray didn't even last that long, but you can, but exactly, like we literally could see, and I heard it the other day, but we literally can see all the advances happen like pow
in our lifetime.
in our lifetime.
Right. So think about this. I don't remember having a lot of pictures of me when I was a kid because I was the second born. Pictures everywhere. Goo gobs of my brother.
Everywhere, right? The firstborn.
Everywhere.
I'm in a similar situation.
Not as many as me. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking about, like you said, we're documenting here on air. We're recording this. And you want to leave something behind for your kids one day where they can remember, even if it's just a picture.
Yep.
That's all digital and just right there.
Yep.
And they can go grab that. And that's amazing. It's good and bad that it's there,
It's good and bad, right?
Again,
exactly.
You will take those Girl Gone Wild videos or a Two Live Crew video and then put one of the songs to it and make that the theme song. That's exactly what Freaknik was. But
exactly.
I digress. The fact that we have that, my father passed in November, and I planned a couple of funerals and, made the programs for the funeral. And it was a blessing to have Facebook.
Yeah.
And go grab all the things that my parents documented or the pictures I would take of them and I'd upload. And it's amazing to have that. Or
just to have it.
Reach out to my aunts, my uncles, and cousins, and they would just send me stuff that they just recorded with their phone.
Yeah, man.
Just having all that accessibility to those things right there is amazing.
It's amazing.
And honestly, if you want to create a YouTube channel or do a podcast, all you need is your phone. And
that's
you
it.
put a mic into it and go from there.
That's it.
That's all you need for this technology to make the future happen. And it's all like literally right in the palm of your hand.
I see it, and I see it times 10. I see you helping individuals out. I had shout out to the listener that was from South Africa. Not really sure when you tuned in, but hey, appreciate you. You checked out the, you know what I mean? But imagine that person who I might have listened to my episode, however that person found me, they was like, okay, I want to check this out. And they took something and they were able to grow from it. You know what I mean? And so I think about that time. It's touching people. Yeah. And then you got the people that you care about the most. Yeah, there's good and bad with social media. You got people that just want to troll you and say negative things. People want to just really just be there to not really help you progress forward. But the positive things that comes about it and the possibilities are endless. And I think about that with my kids and what they're going to be able to do potentially and the opportunities they're going to have.
With them, for instance, your kids have been great about, we're in the basement podcasting.
Right.
So I'm going to assume there's been a discussion about
already.
Daddy goes downstairs to do this thing and we don't interrupt.
Right.
But the fact that they understand that you're even doing business and work in the house and this is a different avenue than what you do, 9 to 5, so to speak.
Yeah.
They know that there's a hustle out there. They know they hear the conversations. They're always watching. They always pay attention. They know that you're diversifying, if you will,
100%
that portfolio.
Right.
The things you want for them. As we discussed earlier, you can't be in the club. You can't be freaknicking. You can't be doing all those things anymore. So you have to find a way to still live your life.
Yep.
And have an outlet. And to be successful and have to grow for your future and for your you need that. We all need generational type wealth, and wealth does not necessarily mean dollar. Sometimes that means knowledge.
That means knowledge, 100%.
Ability or providing a conduit for our children.
Right. I want this. I honestly want. I read something where an individual said his dad gave him the opportunity to make as many mistakes as possible. That's such a blessing. So basically, he graduates high school, and his dad gave him a choice. He said, listen, go out there and fail as many times as possible. Basically, he gave him, here's the lay of the land. You can go to college, or you could just go make a million mistakes and find what you want to do throughout life. I know that time seems like it went so slow when I was younger. I couldn't wait to be an adult. Then all of a sudden I went to college and it was just like it was just a moment in time I couldn't get back. Right. Then I became an adult. And then it was like, it becomes a race that people they hate to say it, but it becomes a rat race. It becomes you churn on this wheel. You do these things, same things, wash, rinse, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. Oh, I get a weekend to do some things I possibly want to do. And then, hey, weekend's over. Wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. If you can go and find something where you feel like you're not wash, rinsing, and repeating daily, I would love to be able to say, I do a little bit of work of what I love to do for 3 hours. I go take a siesta. I go do some stuff that pertains to me, physical activity, maybe exercising. I go do some stuff with my wife and kids. I go and do something I don't know, something would be new that I can learn that challenges my mind. And then I go and do something different that I've never done before ever in life once a quarter. I would love to have that as my options.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which, I'm not, I work in corporate America.
Same here.
But I'm not a fan of corporate America.
Yeah.
But I do like the freedom that they have provided me, whether it was, I had bosses and coworkers and people that worked for me that would go to my fights all the time. They would wear Tracy Taylor BF t-shirts.
Blunt force trauma. Shout out to BFT.
And they'd be at my fights wearing it and supporting me, and which was an amazing thing. And it gave me the ability to have insurance just for what your fighter was huge.
That's huge, man.
It's huge, just to get medicals and have it paid for, or if you had to get stitches and
Man, just think about this. Your dad did that for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing this now for your family, your kids.
Right.
They're gonna have an opportunity that you might not have even.
Also, man,
wow.
Like Hickson is in a private school now, and then Peyton's only a year younger than him, and he'll be in a private school next year. And I never would have imagined. I never had the opportunity. Not that my parents wouldn't have provided it for me. I don't know that we knew it was even an option.
Yeah.
And that's just how we as people grow. To know, I don't think we knew. And so, in the same fashion that Arthur Ashe provided something for us.
Super for tennis, bro.
Oh, we can play. We can do that.
We can do that, right?
Are you saying that we can play golf now, Tiger?
Right.
What he provided, or even remember Lil Wayne and the Lollipop video, which is around the time that you first started training. Like I remember when Lollipop was always on the radio.
It was on the. It was tough, yeah.
Right, yeah. And he's in that video, I think in a limo, and he's playing like an electric
guitar, yeah.
Which, other than let's say Jimi Hendrix, and then man, I forget the cat's name from the Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band. There wasn't a whole lot of us out there.
Only 4. You might have the Parliament Cats, Parliament Funkadelic, and maybe that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So for little kids now to see, and again, this is earlier 2000s. Man, when that video was out and he's playing an electric guitar, then you see Lil Wayne on a skateboard too.
Yeah,
you
man.
can say he looks like a gremlin. You can say he can't rap. You can say he can rap. But the fact is, I noticed he was playing an electric guitar and he was on a skateboard, and that little black kids would go, "Oh, I can do that."
I can do that.
And empowered them to do those things. So that again, I don't know that my parents knew that private school was an option, but we were fortunate enough to figure out that it was a possibility.
I love it.
And an avenue we had for our children to give them a leg up better than we had.
I love it, man. I love it. So I got to get you now, man. This is the part of my episode where I have to stump Tracy. I give Tracy a clue, and he has to answer. This is RoyRob's clue for the day. Tracy, will you answer for me? Please name. I'm gonna do 2 for you. I got to do 2 because this is good. I'm gonna do 2 for you. First, please name for me 5.
Wow, 5.
Yeah, we're gonna go 5. We got to do 5, man. 5. I want to name. I'm gonna do an opinion first.
Okay.
That way, this is just your top 5 BJJ. Top 5 BJJ. Any era you want to include. You can do old school all the way up to now.
All right.
Top 5. And it doesn't matter size, doesn't matter. Sure. But it's just top 5. If you was able to say, man, I'm going to have these 5 cats in the room and I get to roll with any of them, I want to be on the map with these dudes.
One thing, let me tell you this. One thing that was so cool about when I started Jiu Jitsu is you could go by, this is, man, in the day. Can I say in the day? Would you want to say in the day?
Back in the day?
Remember you could go to like Borders, and what was the other bookstore that was really popular?
It was Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble.
Yeah,
Borders.
yeah.
You 2 questions, Roy.
Right.
Name 2 questions.
Right.
Like Amazon.
Easy.
No bookstore.
Right.
And I remember going to buy like Jiu Jitsu magazines, and not just like Black Belt magazine, which had been around for years, but like Jiu Jitsu magazines, and and you would see, like, my uncle was a black belt, and he used to spar like with Bruce Lee.
Wow.
Oh, hey, Roy, my uncle was a black belt. Right?
Wow. Hey, you just gonna leave this out of my head?
And I would see this real footage of him sparring like with Bruce Lee and these other cats.
Wow.
And it was just this really cool thing to see that. And like, I remember, like, it was just a black gi or it was a white gi. And then when I started jiu-jitsu, these gis had all these different, like, I'm going to call it flair. Like, you worked at, like, TGI Fridays or any of these, you know, like like The Office, you know, like, flair was a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, you would have, like, these gis that had these, like, patches everywhere on them. And it was just more than a traditional white gi or black gi that you'd see in karate, which something that was like, man, it was, like, different.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You'd have the crowd, these Brazilian crowds at the Mundials that would just be chanting, and it would be all this tribalism, you know, and maybe it was like you referred to Alliance before, which is one of the huge associations, and they'd have their Alliance chant versus the Gracie Baja folks. That
Right.
And it was so much tribalism and even like hooliganism in some ways that you see in soccer.
Yeah.
And those are the things that, like, made me fall in love, the passion that they would have as fans. So I say all that to say, like, I would open up these magazines and I'd see these guys, and I was just like, these are the dudes that were just so athletic. And it was like, I think when jiu-jitsu first started to kind of make that turn from this very methodical way it was taught and done to this very athletic and
So true.
artistic way it was expressed.
Yeah, so true, man. Oh man, I can go all day on that because it's originally self-defense.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. Keep going. I'm sorry.
But it was
I'm
completely.
sorry. Yeah.
But I would have this, like, I get goosebumps, like, thinking about it and seeing it. That made me want to, like, create when I was on the mat. So to now to see and go to, like, these tournaments and see a lot of those guys still, or even to share the mat with one. I did last year when I went to Worlds. I got to share the mat with a legend and somebody that I would look at in magazines all the time and be like, wow. Like, that's,
Who is that legend?
It's Rodrigo Medeiros, Comprido.
Woo! All right. So is that one of them? One of the five?
I shared the mat with him, yeah.
All right. Okay.
And beat him.
Hey, that's amazing. I know. I saw the hand up.
Yeah. So that was, and I don't mention him because I beat him. I mention it because he was somebody who influenced it. And,
Right.
I mean, he's somebody I follow on Facebook.
Right.
He probably doesn't even know I follow him on Facebook and I like his stuff, and that was even, like, I'm even that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, the Herberos, Shanji and
Oh man,
just,
dude, that's just that. Oh my God, man.
Salo, just, you know, and I've had the opportunity to train with Salo, and it's like learning from my own instructor, but just with a smaller guy. So it's the same family of jiu-jitsu, but just from a smaller practitioner. So it's the reapplication, and he's a legend.
He's a legend. That's three.
Man, Leo Zeno.
I don't know that person.
Yeah.
I should know him probably.
Yeah, Marcelo
I should.
Garcia.
I know that person times 10. That's 5. Is that your 5?
Man, and Henzo, who I've had the opportunity.
Henzo's amazing
Henzo
too.
and Hickson, who I've had the opportunity to train with. And I would tell anybody, whatever it costs to go to a Henzo Gracie seminar, pay it, because
Wow.
the cost, what you'll make up in just the experience and stories.
Yeah.
Worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
Just to be in his presence and see that man smile and laugh, he will make everybody in the room feel like he is there. He came just to see you.
That's awesome, man. Now.
So let me tell you this.
All right, go ahead. Because
when Henzo came to St. Louis, he was supposed to fly in. There was a huge storm, so all of his flights got canceled, and every flight within like 100 miles got canceled.
Okay.
He jumped in his car and drove from New York.
Get out of here.
From New Jersey. His home was in New Jersey. He drove from New Jersey. His school's in New York, and drove here.
Wow.
Got hit on the way. Bumper fell off his vehicle. He jumped out of the vehicle. The young lady that hit him thought that he was going to be so mad. He ran up and said, "Man, what do I have to be upset about? I'm alive and God loves me." Hugged her, kissed her on the cheek, grabbed the rest of his car,
Right.
threw it in his trunk, and
Wow.
then kept driving to St. Louis 20-some odd hours.
Wow, that's crazy.
And taught a seminar. He said, "How can I not come see my brother Rodrigo and his students?
That's amazing, man.
How do you not spend whatever it costs to see a man like that?"
To see a guy like that, that's amazing.
But I can't say that without saying Hickson was amazing. Just to be in presence of the aura.
Yeah, he's the man. He's the legend. He's a god for BJJ.
We had sushi afterwards.
Yeah, man.
Remember Dave Chappelle said sushi.
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 Oh my god,
and for
man.
people not even probably realize who he was, your average citizen. I'm like, we're sitting here with the legend.
The legend, man. Hey, if you ain't seen the Incredible Hulk, that's the guy that's you know what I mean. That's the guy that's breathing on there, teaching him how to breathe. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
watch the docudrama Choke with him.
Oh my god, it's so amazing, man.
Yeah.
So good. So
mythical.
My next one, man. This is movie style. This one I have to get you, and I think I can stump you. I think.
Okay.
You ready?
Let's go.
All right. So, name for me 5 black martial arts actors that truly know martial arts.
Oh, we can go with I'll chop. We gotta go Michael Jai.
Michael Jai White.
Just talking about
yeah. There you go.
That's number one.
Michael Jai White.
And Black Dynamite.
Number 2. I give you a half, man. Come on, man. You got better than that.
Man, what's my man's name? That
we can go all the way back. I'm gonna give you a hint on this one. Enter the Dragon. You know him?
I'm trying to remember. I mean, we can go Kareem, who obviously
you can do Kareem, yeah, because it's training under Bruce Lee, definitely.
Right, but I'm trying to remember the cat's name that just passed not too long ago. That was in the movies as well.
He passed, you said?
I believe he did. He was in the movie with Bruce Lee also. What was brother's name? That was in the movie.
That's Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly.
Okay,
I was the quarterback. Jim Kelly.
Yep. Jim Kelly. Yep.
Man, you gotta,
so you got 3 already.
You got
always, 2 more.
You got to always bet on black. You got to always bet on black.
Say the name.
Wesley Snipes.
There you go. 4. One more.
Always bet on black.
One more. This is factual stuff here. This is my factual question. Who can he get? Who do you got? This is tough now, right?
Yeah. Let me think about this. I mean, my man Bruce Leroy, did he really know martial arts?
Come on, man. Yes, dude. That's 5 all day.
What's his name?
Tamak. Yeah, Tamak. You know what I mean? Of course, man.
Can we get number 6?
So if I would have to say for number 6, I would probably throw in there, because I was want to be my number 5, Tamak as well. But
like well known that people are gonna know.
Well known.
Because not a whole lot of us out there.
It's not, but
listeners, you can throw me out there. That's cool.
Right. So let me see here. I feel like.
But here's the thing, because now jiu-jitsu is so prevalent. There's so many.
I would say, can you say Tyron Woodley? He's been in. You gonna say T Wood?
He's
been in movies, right? He's been in movies. That's how bad it is. He knows his stuff.
I'm gonna disrespect you real quick, and I'm gonna throw you as the other half.
T Wood, don't say
Black Dynamite.
Right.
Don't be mad at me. Don't make me check your kick.
Oh man, that's funny, man.
You should get him on the show.
I am, man. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna text him. T Wood, man, I'm gonna be coming for you, brother. I got a bunch of UFC cats that's already agreed. T Wood, I'm coming, brother. Hopefully you agree, man. I'm gonna hope for the best. St. Louis,
so
man.
I didn't do too bad, right?
Man, my man, you held me down. Shout out to Tracy. It's really not enough time to peel back the layers of this brother on all the things that we could have went into. But I'm gonna just give you a taste of what's coming in the future. We're going to talk business with Tracy in the future. Shout out to Blunt Force Trauma, because I'm positive with that new YouTube. Oh, yeah, I'm making sure he's going to put that out there heavily with that YouTube channel. Make sure that BFT is on there times 10. I always had it on majority on every one of my gis. The patch was on there.
You know what's cool about that is it was, my first sponsor was Gameless Fightwear, and then Grappler's Quest was a tournament that traveled the country, was my second. And I got really close with the 2 owners individually who were around the same age, and I just kind of saw how they did business, and I was like, well, I think I can do that.
That's cool, man.
And that's how I kind of started everything I would do is, I think I can do that.
That's cool.
Where I'm not as stupid as them.
Right. Yeah.
And they're not any smarter than me, so if they can do it, why can't I do it?
Why can't I?
So why can't I? And that's how everything always starts with, why can't I?
Yeah, man.
And it was, use your resources around you and use homegrown, grassroots type thing, and use your teammates to help grow stuff.
They help you grow stuff, man.
It would be phenomenal. It was great sending everybody to the worlds with with a blunt force trauma Team Vaggie T-shirt and patches on the back.
All day, man.
They've seen people. We'd go out, like when we would all go out back in the day, and we'd go to clubs. I remember seeing some cat wouldn't even know had on a blunt force trauma shirt.
It's so cool,
at
man.
the club.
Yeah, man.
He picked those fits that night to wear out to impress some girl. And then H-Bomb, Hal, boy Hal was like, "Hey, do you know this guy?" Pointed at me, and the guy's like, "Nope."
Right.
And like, "Where'd you get that shirt?" He's like, "Man, I'm sponsored by this company." Like, "Word?" And you know, Hal likes to get in people a little bit. I was like, "Hal, let that dude
let him live, man.
Let him tell that story to everybody. That's free publicity and marketing." You know, come on, man. Where I've been in airports, like in San Francisco and places, and seen people like in the gear,
Yeah.
and stuff like that was, man, that was so cool. Just to see people that you didn't know wearing something, you know, from that you made.
That you made, man. That's so
Or
powerful.
Even seeing your people in it, and that, you know, like, because they wouldn't wear it unless they liked it.
That's
whether
it,
some people or
man.
not. And
That's
like,
so true, man. So we gonna do that. We're gonna have Tracy the business. We're gonna talk about all the above with that. We're gonna talk about additional stuff when it comes to even just being a coach, teaching, just being able to pass it up. We kind of touched on a little bit, but that next level, that level is like, I've reached the upper level. Now it's time to train and give back. I would love to go into that on the future podcast. But shout out to Tracy. Thank you for coming on. You've listened once again to another episode of Enter the Last Dragon with your host, RoyRob. Thank you for having me, brother.
I appreciate being here. Don't forget, not only do we have to get you back in the room,
Oh, yeah.
you know, that black belt's not too far away. That brown belt's around the corner for you.
Right.
We've got Respect 6 coming to St. Louis.
Okay.
Pro grappling event, pro jiu-jitsu event that'll be here in October. I'm competing in that, as well as, man, a handful of other Team Vaggie guys. I think I'm the co-main event.
Oh, wow.
And then in November we're headed to Kansas City for the IBJJF Kansas City Open. So, man, still staying active on the mat.
I see you, bro. Hold on. Tell my people. My mind is just so crazy, so all over the place today. How do my followers follow you? Where they find you, brother?
I mean, you know, you can find me on Facebook, which
I'll have it in the show notes. That'll easily be accessed.
Facebook, we'll put that in there. Your best bet, though, is probably Instagram at the El Cabron. So THELCABRON, and the same on Twitter. And you know, just say hi.
I got it. Those all will be in the show notes. Follow him, check him out. He's gonna have a YouTube page coming very soon where you'll be able to get what should they expect from that?
Man, you're gonna see technique. My Sunday jiu-jitsu class, I recall it Sunday school.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, just, you know, having a lot of fun. I don't want to call jiu-jitsu my religion because it can't be all-consuming part of life.
Yeah,
one God, you know.
Right.
But it's my way of just kind of having fun with it, and yeah, it'll be technique. And what I enjoy about that class most is it's basically, man, it's about really getting to a technique, understanding it, and reliving it being part of you, having a true understanding of what you're doing, the whys, you know, the with them, the what's in it for me.
What's in it for me,
and
man?
Not just doing a move, but the understanding of why you're doing a move, principle-based, concept-based.
And you've always been like that, man. I tried to coin this, but I ain't been able to do it. We gonna end up turning it with them into We Fu. It's gonna be a radio station. What's in it for us? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? What's in it for us, man? As a culture, that's the reason why I'm on it. I do this podcast because I want to be able to have people to just be comfortable in their own skin. Shout out to everyone who has previously listened and came back, and shout out to the new listeners. Into the Last Dragon, RoyRob signing out.